only one of those was made. After that came Super Guppy turbine, loaded from the front, and we had the turboprop engines. Of those, 4 were built by Airbus. They flew all throughout France and Europe, and this is actually number 4. It was built in 1983 in Toulouse, and then we acquired it in 1997. Hi, I'm James Getze, loadmaster on the NASA Super Guppy.
What was the previous predecessor to this aircraft?
So previously and originally, it started with Pregnant Guppy. It loaded from the rear, and that was the one that was built in the 60s that hauled the 3rd stage of the Apollo rockets. After that came Super Guppy. It loaded from the front, but still had the smaller engines. Only one of those was built. Following that was Super Guppy turbine, which is the iteration or the model that we have here. It loaded from the front and has the Allison T56s, and it's a turboprop.
Awesome.
It was built by Airbus in the 80s. Airbus built 4 of these. They hauled aircraft parts all throughout Europe. This was number 4 built by them. It was built in 83, and then NASA acquired it in 97.
I guess Airbus was just transporting their aircraft parts in it before. What's the type of load missions you have flying it now?
One of the most common missions that we have is moving heat shields for the spacecraft. We've hauled a lot of them. They have to be picked up and moved throughout the country as they go through the process of being assembled, baked, cooked, and then attached to the vehicle that the astronauts will then take into space.
So now with the end of the STS and the shuttles, are you still using this aircraft for SpaceX or Blue Origin?
When it comes to SpaceX and Blue Origin, we haven't hauled any of their cargo yet. There was some change of policy that we now have the ability to work with private companies like that. We have come to talks with SpaceX on moving cargo. Unfortunately, none of those came to fruition, but we would love to work with them.
So you've mentioned earlier that you had T-38s in here that had a fuel issue, and you're able to transport them. What's another rare aircraft that you've been able to transport in the Super Guppy?
Probably quite a few years ago, there was a F-14 that the nose gear collapsed. What they did is they craned it up, they put some dunnage to support the nose, and then we loaded that, the whole F-14, and then flew it back to its base to be fixed.
What's the maximum gross load you could carry?
About 45 to 46,000 pounds. It really does depend on temperature and elevation.
We're watching a bunch of people kind of walk up the stairs and, they're looking at this giant. What's something that they're probably not even understanding on what can carry or?
One of the things that they probably wouldn't be aware of is our flight control systems and engine controls are all, you can't really see them from here, but there are a bunch of orange cables that have been disconnected and tucked away. Those all have quick disconnects. They need to be connected and disconnected every time we open and close the nose. Those go out and control all of our engine, propeller, and even the flight controls. And on our flight controls, we don't have any hydraulic boosters or any hydraulic assistance. So it's just a yoke to a cable to a pulley to a flight surface.
Wow.
So the pilots have to be really strong. And also, because of that, we don't have any autopilot. So the pilots are 100% flying the airplane the entire time.
Wow, that's a huge workload.
Yeah. And our flight control surfaces are still fabric, painted fabric.
I didn't even think about that. This is all metal, but those are...
They're fabric.
Wow. That's incredible. So we see both the T-38s out here from NASA. We see now the Super Guppy. With both of these aircraft on the ramp, what do you hope people understand about the diversity of flying and supporting space exploration?
Well, we like to do air shows because it inspires people, not only about space, but aviation, and that's what we really hope to do today.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much.
Yep, no problem.